another BattleFly. Today we actually have a few guests with joining myself and John. So we have Krolzinia and we have Adam up on the stage. If you guys want to say hello.
Hey everyone.
Cool. And we are going to be doing another BattleFly. I think today we're going to have maybe a little bit more of a beginner focused session. So if this is your first time joining us, that will be awesome, and you will hopefully learn some of the more basics. And I think that we were chatting a little bit before the recording started, and Adam, you wanted to do a Black Project build, is that correct?
Yeah, just checking the meta and the leaderboards. Most people run Black Project, and just wanted to, get into learning more about Black Project utility.
Cool. That makes sense to me. So let's. So we have a BattleFly here, as we can hopefully all see. We got Seer Serena. That is today's kind of unusual name of choice. Um, so, yeah, Jean, I think that the first thing we do, regardless of what we're building, is go ahead and equip our marks, right?
Always, always, always.
Cool.
One will increase dramatically the chance to get rare or plus or better, and the other will allow us to almost guarantee one of the mods to be the one we selected, the one from the land we select.
Yep. And since our BattleFly, we're just using a common like we always do for these, that means there are, no special direction that we should take this. It's just going to be a regular old BattleFly. And I think the other thing to note here is that we already have this BattleFly in and staked. So if, this is your very first time playing, you got to make sure that you have staked your BattleFly, put it alongside the 5 magic that it currently requires to actually get into the game. So this one is staked, it is idle, and it will be ready to play in the proving grounds. So we are going to equip those marks. So the first thing we go down here, we go down to Hunter's marks, and we have the Scavenger's mark. So there are 3 different values of the Scavenger's mark here. You have your bronze, silver, and gold. They all cost different amounts of nectar, and they all give you different chances of increasing your odds. So if you look down here on the bottom, you can see that you increase your rares by 5, 10, 15, epics by these values, and legendaries by these values. So I think, John, if I remember correctly, the bronze is actually like a slightly better value if you're trying to save nectar. So maybe if you're a beginner and just really trying to, you don't have a lot of nectar, this is the best value. But the gold is a much better effect, right?
This is correct. Exactly. There's diminishing returns, but of course, gold will give you like plus 15% for rare mods. So it's quite plus, of course, the epic and legendary increase. So
yep,
gold is the best.
Yeah, so we're going to choose gold here just to give ourselves the best odds. And if you are a new player and you don't have a lot of nectar yet, if you don't have that 525 nectar, one thing that we can always do, and this is something we don't normally do in these builds, but we're going to do it since this is sort of a beginner, is that we're going to take these core mods that we have right here, and we're going to go ahead and just actually send it right away into the proving ground so we can start earning some nectar. So that is something that you can always do. Proving grounds are free to play now. So there's no cost to doing this once you have your BattleFly staked into the game. This will battle for free. Every win is going to get you 2 nectar, and every loss is going to get you 1 nectar. So if you don't have that 525 nectar, and you want to really maximize your mod pack purchasing, just go ahead and go into the proving grounds for free, like I just did. You're just going to click on, battle or update settings, and just set it into the proving grounds at 100 battles. So. But we do have nectar here. We have plenty of nectar in this account, so we're going to go ahead and buy that gold scavenger mark, give ourselves the best odds, so that see that mark is applied. And now for the hunter's marks, these are extra important for what we're trying to do today to help kind of guide through a Black Project build, because you'll see that for the hunter's mark, there's one that's titled Black Project. And what are these going to do for us, Sean?
So, I'm sorry, I didn't really hear your question.
Sorry, so this one, we have a Black Project option here. These are going to give us better chances of getting Black Project mods,
yes.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that will increase to almost 100% the chance that one of the mod in the pack is a black project.
Yeah. So normally it's only going to be, I think it says up here, 50%, and we're going to move that up to
Exactly.
83%, and that is, that's a big increase. If we're looking for something specific, we're going to go ahead and make sure we get that.
Now, yeah, you can still, you also have a chance that for the other mods are black project, but with a normal chance. So you can have 2 or even 3 black project in one pack if you are lucky. It's possible.
Absolutely. And this is also only 25 nectar, right? So this is very cheap. You always want to equip this if you're looking for a specific type of mod. You know, we're gonna go ahead and buy that here. For these scavengers marks, since they're a little bit more expensive, like we always want to go for them when possible, but these are so cheap that basically, this is just a handful of battles in the proving ground to equip one of these. So always make sure you're equipping your hunter's marks, even if you don't have the nectar for a scavenger's mark, even if you just get a bronze or something. So we have our marks set up, and we're in the proving grounds while we're going. You can see we even already actually got one of our first battles in the proving grounds, which we won. So we already earned ourselves an additional 2 nectar into our account. So we're already kind of working up towards that scavenger's mark if we didn't have one. So we're going to get into scavenging and click on the scavenge mod button. So you'll see here that we have a whole list of different scavenging locations. And so Jean, what are we doing at these different locations? Why are there so many of them here?
Yeah, there is 10 locations for the 10 mod categories. So make sure you choose the one which is similar to your hunter mark. And that's where your tiny BattleFly is going to scavenge stuff. Is looking for old gear, especially in the Arctic research, looking for some secret project, black project mods.
Yep, and we spoke about this a bit before, but I want to make sure we go over it here on the recording, which is that the reason we are going to be starting with the black project mods is because Jean's outlined in these previous BattleFlies that the best strategy for us is to scavenge first for our utility. And that's going to give us a lot of direction sort of on how we're going to build our BattleFly, because you get 2 weapons, 1 defensive slot, and 1 utility slot, right? And let's actually even take a quick look back here. Here's our 2 weapons, our defense, and our utility. And the utility has a lot of sort of special abilities that relate to like special effects that either modify your damage or give you like a specific way of fighting. And so these are going to help craft that direction, right, John?
Correct. Yeah, that will. I mean, you can build another way, but find that often you will have a more clear direction and probably need less mod pack if you start with utility.
Right. And so that's also why we're going to be scavenging here today in the Arctic Research HQ. Black project mods are utility mods primarily, and you have a 50% chance, but don't forget we have that hunter's mark applied, as you can see down here, so we're actually have an 83% chance of getting one of those black project mods, and we have our scavenger's mark equipped, which is going to give us a better chance of finding more valuable things. So this is where we're scavenging. So let's go ahead and see what we get.
Let's roll the dices.
Okay. So when you see a pack like this, there's interesting options here, right? So do we want to? What do you think when you see 2 rares on the first opening? And we'll get to rerolls in a second. But what do you think of these rares here, and how you would evaluate them?
Yeah, it's when it's all about the risk tolerance. When I see 5 rerolls, I just have a look at them, but I gamble until 3 rerolls at least. So that's the way I play. It's just the first roll. We have a gold mark, that means we have plus 15% chance rare. So we are at over 22% chance to get rares. So it's good. We get 2 rares, but we can have more. But that is showing what a little bit what we discussed about the utility mod. You can see the drive, the middle one is actually something boosting energy damage. So if you get these, then you will want energy guns, obviously, and 2 energy guns. Um, and and the second one, it's increase hit point regeneration. So for this one, you will want armors or even guns. Some guns give you a HP bonus, but armors that give HP. So that's a representation of the utility slot. It will give you a direction to create synergies.
Yep. So getting into the reroll kind of logic here, as Jean mentioned, we have, you see here, 5 rerolls remaining. And with every mod pack that you open, you get to retry, essentially, almost like reopen that pack, refresh it with new mods, 5 times maximum. And so that means that you get to see almost 6 packs for every pack you open. And it normally costs, I believe, 50 nectar to do so. I have some nectar credits, which are earned by reroll credits, which are earned by opening daily loot caches and completing missions and achievements in our game. Basically, by playing the game, you're going to get some of these resources for free. But you can always do it with nectar. And so it's a good idea to have nectar going into this because you'll be able to, I'm sure we'll use these reroll credits up. You'll be able to see that you can reroll using nectar. And since we have those scavengers marks, like Jean said, we're going to be a little greedy at the start here. We're really looking for epics and legendaries, or something with maybe a little clearer direction before we take anything, or to get lower down into our rolls, because we still can see 5 more packs. So we're going to go ahead and re-roll that. We do see 2 rares again, so you can see how, like, even though we passed up on 2 rares, because we have that scavengers mark working for us, we're going to see a lot of rares here. These are, I think, both good mods, and if we were on like 1 pack remaining, I would definitely be happy taking one of these.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. There is some mods that have diminishing returns with rarity, and I think Phoenix Protocol is one of those. These are mods that allow you to resurrect once when you are down, and the higher rarity will resurrect you with more hit point, but not like triple hit point. So even a rare version will give you the most important effect is that it's protecting you against a sniper, a nuker, like somebody doing crazy high damage and hoping to kill you on the spot, and then with very slow weapons. So there is sometimes a rare can be very good on a build.
Yeah, and I think Cryo is another good example of a utility mod, which, you know, maybe we'll see it here, but there are a lot of them that just don't trail off too much as you go down in rarity. Whereas something like the explosive ammo, the difference between the rarities is, I think, like 6% damage, so it's actually quite a bit. So knowing a little bit about that can be helpful, but I think we're still in the same basic situation here. This is a boost to kinetic damage. John just explained the Phoenix Protocol, this Resurrect, but we're still 4 packs remaining with, you know, only rares, so I think we're just going to keep going here.
But, by the way, Adam, any remarks or questions so far?
No, just I do see Phoenix Protocols on a lot of good meta flies. That's why, you know, I see it and I'm like inclined to take it. But yeah, I agree with Gyro. We got 4 packs remaining, and I'm a DJ myself, so.
So, for example, Phoenix Protocol is a good example. It's not necessarily it could be a good last mod, not a first mod, because it don't give you a direction, except that it will be very resistant to alpha strikes.
Yeah.
Right? So it's great to have in your backpack if you have like some space on your BattleFly. If you have an extra one, it's great, but definitely maybe not what we are looking for the build the fly session.
Yep. So
yeah,
let's go ahead and re-roll here.
Of course, if Gyro roll a legendary one,
we take it anyway. Yeah, it's just strong enough. It is a good, as Adam said, it is a top tier effect at legendary, and even you know, at epic, I think it's worth taking. So, all right.
We opened 5 packs, by the way. That's how we roll for this build the fly.
That's a good call out, Sean. We are going to do 5 packs. We've been known to maybe open a 6th after opening 5 just in case, but we do try to do 5 here. Okay, so we do see our first epic, and it's pretty good. I mean, I think the legendary version of this I do see on leaderboards sometimes up at Apex. What are your thoughts on this one, Jean?
That's a very good gun. It has double effect, so it's a fast gun. So it might be wonderful depending of the utility mode, or it might be not at all what we want. If we play, for example, stealth, you can remain hidden. The more you remain hidden, the better is it. So this one will unhide you. So yeah,
Yeah,
tricky.
it's a tough one. I mean, I think that what we're up against here is that we are looking for direction, as we mentioned earlier, and this doesn't give us direction. This is kind of what you want once you have a direction, right? Like if we're building a cryo build, for example, or some other sort of like high uh, like low reload, high damage output build, this is great. But if we're trying to be a tank, if we're trying to like save up for like a big combo, um, you know, I think that if I'm a very first time player, this gun is good enough to get me out of pupa
Sure.
just by itself. So I would very much consider taking this. We do have 3 packs remaining. Um, Adam, would you how degen are you feeling here? We're kind of building something sort of with you in mind. Do you want to take this and see how it goes, or do you want to keep looking for something with a little more direction? I'll kind of leave this one up to you, actually.
Hmm. So I do see what you're saying. This is something that reloads pretty quick. Cryo could be a good, combo with something like this. Um, Now the thing is, we have seen a lot of cryo builds already, and I did want sort of like a unique aspect to my fly.
Mm-hmm.
But considering this is epic, like I'm kind of on the fence on whether I should take this or not.
Yeah,
Um,
I think that you're.
But
Go ahead, John.
oh, sorry, it could be the reverse, because if you take that and let's say you upgrade it, then you have a direction. Your direction is that you're looking for something fast. So you were looking for cryo ammo. You were looking for maybe energy, the supercharged engine, like so. But at 3 rerolls, I'm more degen than this.
yeah, yeah, you know what? I am too.
All
Let's
right.
do it. Let's do
We're gonna
it.
keep looking for a little bit more direction here, but just as a note for anyone watching, if this is your first time building, it is totally reasonable to take this epic, and try to upgrade it, which we'll talk about upgrades when we're ready to get an upgrade. But yeah, this would be a reasonable take if you're not, especially let's say if we didn't have 5 packs to open, if we're just opening 1 pack today, I think I just take this here because I just want to make
Yeah,
sure I get
actually.
something good. Um,
Hmm.
but we are gonna re-roll. Okay, so we didn't take the epics. We're not going to take any of these here. We can see another sort of. This is a stronger direction theoretically. The nuke. It's obviously too weak to take without having a good idea of what we're doing. Um, but yeah, and we have sort of a counterplay utility here, which we won't get into. But this is like a hard counter to that cloaking strategy we've been talking about. So we're going to re-roll. Okay.
Da, da, da.
Another.
Cue stressful music.
Yep. We're running low on re-rolls. We do have probably the best pick here would probably be the Hyper CPU, and I have seen a couple of these on leaderboards here and there. It's just a missile boost. There is a good missile build right now, with I believe the nail biters. Are we rolling
Yeah.
down to the last one?
Adam, your call.
Let's do it.
All right, we're gonna click this button. Hope for something a little stronger. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we do see something that theoretically gives us a direction. It is a pretty narrow direction. Um, so the best mod here is the micro black hole turbines. These deal damage to your opponent's HP directly, and it's a flat amount. So these are just going to, every single time they attack, take away 16% of your opponent's max HP. These are really good against very tanky builds, but they don't get any bonuses like from extra damage boosts. So they're
Yeah.
pretty straightforward. I think we've built one of these here before.
There is also now there are a very hard counter to a new mod of Lost Silo, but I will not say more on this.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing to keep in mind is that the meta will change a lot in 6 days, like a lot. So it's I think the black hole turbines and all the guns that do direct HP damage will have a new life. Possibly. It's always impossible to perfectly predict the meta changes, but yeah.
Cool. So we're going to take this one. It is a little bit more direction. You know, it is not as strong as a direct weapon as the epic that we passed, which is, of course, the risk there. So we're also going to always upgrade rarity. I have some upgrade credits from opening my daily loot caches, but these are going to also cost nectar. I believe it's 35. And this is going to give you a 1 in 8 chance to upgrade your mod to the next rarity, so making this an epic, and a 2.5% chance of upgrading this 2 rarities up to legendary. And we have a pretty good history of hitting these, so let's see if we can get one today. You always want to try upgrading. Okay, we didn't hit that. So now the last thing to consider here is, do we want to take this, or do we just want to take an armor mod? Because we're still looking for a stronger direction. I think that's my last consideration here, John. The one thing to think about.
I will definitely. I mean, personally, I will take the rare gun.
Yep.
Because is one notch. I mean, the armor itself is an uncommon, so yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, we need an armor, but we can probably find something better along the way. Okay.
So I'm going to do a strategy that I like to do here, which is I'm going to try upgrading this armor. If we hit an upgrade, then I think the armor becomes better because it's the same rarity, but it's more flexible.
Yeah.
So we don't hit the rarity, so we'll go ahead and keep this. But if you hit the upgrade, that's something else to consider, is that even if you try upgrading one mod, you can try upgrading all the mods in the pack and see what you get. So we're going to keep this. We're going to take it and place it into an empty mod slot. You have 4 basic slots, which is your 2 weapons, 1 defense, and 1 utility. And then you also have 4 slots that can accept any type of mod, and those are your reserve slots. So this goes into our reserve slot. If you go back to our BattleFly, we can see our main equipment. But if we change our loadout by pressing the change loadout button down here, we have our 2 weapon slots. I'm clicking on these bottom left buttons, defense and utility. And so we're going to go ahead and equip this by clicking on it, assign it to one of our weapons, and apply. So I'd say that given that we have 4 packs left, we're not like super hard locked into Micro Black Hole Turbine. If we get 4 other good mods, I'm more than happy to just throw this away. But I think we're going to keep scavenging. Do we want to switch our Hunter's Mark here, John? Or are we staying in Black Project?
Oh, we stay in Black Project. We did not get our utility mod, so that was a request of Adam. So I think let's, like for example, if we hit a stealth, Black Hole is not bad because it's 5 second, 4.8 second reload. So
yeah, stealth would be good.
Let's see what we can get.
Cool. So we're going to scavenge again, make sure we're in the correct one, the Arctic Research HQ, which has Black Project mods. All right. We're also going to go a teeny bit faster just on some of these packs. When we just see commons and uncommons early on like this, we're just going to go ahead and move along. Nothing super exciting here, a shield and 2 guns. Same thing, common and uncommon. Nothing wrong with these items, but they're not exciting for us with 4 rerolls left.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, we see this jump drive again. We didn't take it the first time. I don't think we're taking it here because we're not dealing energy damage.
Yep, exactly. Allez, let's go.
All right. None of these do anything for us. So
that's happened sometimes. Very rarely when you have a gold mark, but sometimes you get a few bad rolls. But I'm pretty sure the wind will change.
Okay.
Voila.
Well, that is a good shield, legendary shield. So one of the nice things about the shields is that they're, for the most part, pretty like ubiquitously good. Like there's no bad shields at legendary. So this obviously, you know, it has this little modifier, this plus 2% electric damage. That's sort of like a nice little bonus. We're not going to build around that necessarily, but yeah, I mean, this just was, you know, it gives you 175 extra shield on top of your 200 base shield. And it just recharges 3% of your max shield every second. So that means you're recharging 3% of 375, and so you are recharging about like 11 shields every second. So it's not too bad, right? Over the course of a battle, if a battle lasts 15, 20 seconds, you're going to be getting 100, 200 extra shields. It's pretty good.
Yeah, there is no question, no upgrade here. It's just
Yep.
perfect.
We're
We have
keeping
one
it.
reroll left anyway.
Yep.
So.
We are keeping it. I mean, even if there was no rerolls left, this is a good one. We want a shield. We need a shield. So awesome. We are accidentally navigated away from the server here. All right. So change loadout. We're going to go ahead and just equip that shield to make sure we know we have it. Going to go into the shield slot, click equip, and apply this loadout. Cool. Go back to our BattleFly, and here we go. So, a good shield is also pretty important on a build like this because we're just counting damage, right? 16%. So this just means, we're just trying to hit over and over again, and live as long as possible, as compared to like something with like stealth, right? Which isn't as reliant on the shield because it's gonna hide. But
So something important to keep in mind with shields is that once it's broken, with one exception, there is one mod will allow a broken shield to regenerate. The shield is gone and it stops regenerating. So the goal when you build a BattleFly with a shield is to make sure your shield lasts as long as possible.
Yep. So at this point,
make sure it never breaks.
We could even there are some mods that give us extra shields, I believe, in the utility slot. So there's a world where we take something like that to help just stay alive longer. All right. Good. Adam?
Yeah, I had a question. Being someone new to this game and stuff, I do see that there's a difference between shield and armor. Could you just briefly explain the difference?
Yeah, sure. So when you have an attack, you have a burst that thinks the amount of bullets. Some attacks do. Maybe you can just click the proton blaster, for example, here. Yeah, you can see here it's burst 1. So that means there is 1 bullet shooting every 2 seconds. This bullet is doing 32 damage. You have the damage value. Armor will remove the whole value of armor to this damage every single burst. So if you have 10 armor, you will only take 22 damage every time you get shot. So
okay.
it's a fixed defense, which is very efficient against high burst because it's applied to every bullet of the attack. So against attack which have only 1 burst like this one, armor is less efficient because a big bullet will go through. And while against like a Gatling gun, some things that attack many times, that's again one burst only.
Here we go.
Coffee attack, hello. Voilà, perfect. The carrot. So you see here you have like 8 bursts with 12 damage each. So that means you shoot 8 bullets and each bullet is doing 12 damage. So if you have 10 in armor, you will only take 2 damage per bullet. So this kind of gun really suffers from high armor. But at the same time, of course, so high armor is very efficient against high burst weapon. And it's and shield is simply another health bar. So it's before hitting the hit points, except if you have some fusion guns, you have to destroy the shield of your opponent, and this shield is constantly regenerating. So there are like 2 different forms of defense. It's important to note that every BattleFly has a shield. So even if you don't have a mod shield, you have a starter shield, which is at 200.
Right, whereas armor starts at 0, so there is no base armor being applied.
Exactly, there is no base armor.
Yeah. So I mean, and I think right now we're seeing if a good reference, as we've always kind of mentioned in these, is to look at the leaderboards, and I've seen a pretty good mix of armor and shields across these. Obviously you're gonna see a lot of these legendary shields, the ones that regen, some of the ones that are very similar to the one we have. But as you dig down, you'll also start to see people that are running more counters to armor. Though I do think right now shields are a bit more popular, just because things like cryo aren't as strong as they once were, and there's a lot of these like low burst, high damage weapons out there. So at the moment, shields are pretty popular, but certainly there,
Yeah,
there is armor out there.
yeah, it's changing because I like yeah, okay, you can see.
Yeah. And so, this one, for example, is a different build that's trying to really slow down your opponent. And every time you get attacked, you deal damage back to them. We've made a build like this before on BattleFly. So armor is a good pairing with this because you're hoping to get attacked a lot of times, which means that you want to have prevent more of that damage instead of just like absorb it.
As always, synergy wins the game. Your mods need to work together. If you just pack Goldens with no synergy, it will always lose compared to an opponent which has synergy.
Exactly. All right, so we're happy with the shield, though. I mean, teching out armor versus shields is a nice thing to be able to do when you have, when you're up at Apex and really building out for strategy. But you're kind of just going to take the best defense you find when you're scavenging early on. So we're still looking for that block project, so we're going to go ahead and head back
yes,
into the Arctic.
this evasive black project.
Yep. And we've seen a few,
Very
but
secret.
they just haven't been quite the power level we're looking for. Yep. So again, not going to spend too much time on commons and uncommons.
But like for example, for with this super good shield we have, exactly. Well, that's what I was about to going to say.
Yeah.
The graviton capacitor will be a very good pick.
Yeah. And so, I mean, this is, as we mentioned, this is a utility mod. And then, so there's a quick note for people that can't quite tell the difference. Each one of the mod types is a different look. So you can see the weapons here have a DPS and these 4 boxes on the side with damage, reload, and burst. The utility mods don't have any of these boxes on the side. They just tell you the effects because they don't have any base sort of stats. And then the shields have a armor, an evasion, and a shield rating, all the defense defensive mods. So if you're not sure which slot it is, you can always see by the shape of the card. So yes, graviton capacitors, it's a utility mod. We finally could see a good one. And we have a big shield, and this recharges your shield even more. So I believe that brings our recharge rate all the way up to 8% per second, John?
Correct.
Let's take a look here.
3% plus 5 here.
And I think you get a base of 1?
Yeah, exactly. You get the base of 1, so that's 9%.
9%. So yeah, I mean, this is just good with what we have. We have, and we're focused on that recharge. There are some shields that have a different recharge, but I mean, 3% recharge is pretty good. I think we're just taking this here, right, Sean?
Absolutely, this is excellent.
Cool. So we're always going to try for that upgrade. We don't get it. But yeah, we're just going to go ahead and keep this. And I think this is a good example of we didn't necessarily... If we saw graviton capacitors really early, maybe we would have taken it. Maybe we would have re-rolled. I think it's like a similar power level to that gun that we passed on at Epic, where it was like, this isn't like a super strong direction, but given that we actually got the direction from our shield by having just like a really strong shield and we want to supplement that, I think that, it kind of changes where we're almost building around the shield now.
So now we have a pretty clear strategy because we have utility plus shield. We have very good synergy. We have a super high shield regen rate. So that means the game plan of this BattleFly is to not allow the shield to break. That's not possible. If your opponents break your shield, that means you are losing totally the effect of both utility and defense. Both become useless. So in this situation, what I will look for ways to slow down opponents. Like any weapon that allow me to gain time will be great for this build, because every second you gain over your opponent, you will get 9% shield regeneration. So that's massive.
Yeah, you want this battle basically going as long as possible until you win. Like, you want to be nice and slow, keep yourself alive, keep that shield up. Okay, so now I think we're at a point where we actually want to switch that scavenger's mark, or sorry, that hunter's mark, and
Absolutely. And here, well, there is many things that will allow to survive, but generally, effects that slow or debuff your enemy are in the electric category.
yep. And so, as we mentioned,
And,
if
and,
we
and we have 3% electric bonus on top of that. So that's really icing on the cake. You don't build around this, but that's just
yep,
just on top.
just a little bonus here. As we mentioned early on, I mean, if we're scavenging right now and we do see another like black hole turbine, maybe at legendary or epic, we'll probably take it and just run with that. But we're not hard locked into this mod. We are more than happy to have this as just something in our inventory and backup. So yes, you said electric, correct?
Yeah, electric can do well because you have hacking, you have virus, you have like a lot of guns that will give you that time, that extra time, one way or another.
Yep. And as a reminder, you can see that on these marks, there's a timer below it that's going to be counting down every time we refresh the page. And these are timed. So you get 7 days with each of these marks, the hunter's marks and the scavenger's mark. However, you know, the hunter's marks, like we mentioned, they're so affordable that what we're actually going to do is we're just going to replace it. You can only have one active at a time, but we're going to go ahead and switch the black project out for an electric. But another thing to keep in mind here is we're going to scavenge today. If you scavenge today and then, you know, you play some battles, get some missions, unlock some achievements, and get loot caches, which are rewarded for that. Loot caches can contain mod packs and other credits for, you know, rerolls and upgrades. And you can come back 3 or 4 days later once you've accrued some of those resources and use the same scavengers and hunters marks. All of them last 7 days. And so you get yourself a nice week. So, you know, if you have one equipped, try to make the good use of that. I've definitely returned with a couple extra mod packs, so, you know, a few days later to finish fleshing out a build that I was working on.
Likewise.
Okay, so now we want to make sure that we are scavenging where the electric mods live, which is the hydro plant. You can always check again right here to see what type of mod we're looking for. This should always match the hunter's mark you have equipped. Okay, we're not going to spend a lot of time on these, so let's keep going.
It's a warm-up.
Yep. Still warming up, getting into it.
They didn't get the instructions of the electric mod yet.
Not quite yet. Yeah, we're not seeing a lot of electric. I think we saw one, maybe common electric. Okay. This is an example of something that slows your opponent down for sure.
Yes, that's one of the mods I had in mind. That is good. That is working very well, and it stops all opponent's weapon and also shield recharge. So it's quite efficient to gain time.
It's good to gain time. We definitely would want to pair it with something probably that does a little bit more damage than what we currently have. Though the fact that we get to ignore shields is nice. Do you take this here, Jean? I mean, we're at 2 rolls remaining. This is good, but it's not like great.
Yeah, but I think also the MP Blaster has a. I mean, of course, legendary is better, but in the game plan that works well. We need a second weapon with more punch for sure. But yeah, at 2 rolls, it really depends on your risk behavior. I will take it, but I'm more conservative starting at 2 rolls. Cool. What about you, Adam? How do you feel?
Yeah, usually I'm on degen timing, but we do have 2 rolls, so I agree with John. I take it.
Makes
you
sense.
have a nice tank already. Yeah, we build you a nice, very resilient tank with shield constantly pumping.
Yeah, I mean, this makes sense to me. One thing to note here is that once we try for this upgrade, we're not going to be able to reroll anymore. So that's something to keep in mind here, is that once you try for your upgrade, you're basically saying, once you modify this pack in any way, or try to modify this pack in any way, you're saying, I'm sticking with this pack.
Yeah, sure.
I think we're looking at changing that potentially in the future, but for now, that is the way it works. So do be mindful of that. So we're going to try for this upgrade. Do not get that one. Haven't had good luck with the upgrades today. Statistically, we should get one sometime soonish. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and keep this. Go back to mission control, and so want to return to my fly. Actually, there we go. And so I guess the question now is, Jean, we have one pack left. How did I? I don't think I did this equipping correctly. I think I'm gonna have a. Oh, I did it right. Okay. We have one pack left. What are we spending it on? What are we looking for?
We need damage. We definitely need something that punch holes. The turbine alone, it should be paired with another turbine or another rad effect, because 16% damage, yes, is direct to HP, but now your EMP blaster is anyway preventing HP regeneration. So you have something that totally bypass shield and another which is stopping shield to regen. So these two don't work together at all. And 16% damage that the turbine is doing, it's great if you have two. If you have only one, that means you will need to hit 5 times. And 5 times, it's a lot.
Yeah. So are we sticking with that electric scavengers, Mark?
I would say, because there is a lot of other... good point, yes. We can keep it and find another electric. I was thinking hacking could work very well, or the electroblaster can work very well as well.
Yeah, I think that we're not building around this plus 3% electric damage, but if I'm not sure where to scavenge, and I think right now, like you said, we're just looking for something that deals damage. There's something that deals damage in basically every category except for fusion, because this is what the fusion mods look like. They're like a more passive effect. And as you mentioned, we do want to deal shield damage, actually. Like, we want to be dealing damage kind of everywhere. So yeah, so let's just go ahead and lean into that plus 3% electric. We have the Mark equipped. And if we see something that's like kinetic and has good damage, that's fine. We take that.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. Yeah. No, we are more an opportunist scavenging.
Yep. So going back to the hydro plant just to match our hunter's mark.
But the damage always scale with rarity. So for weapons, this is where you really, it's good to have an epic or legendary, because it's just doing more damage.
All right. So a bunch of uncommons again, you know. This is
warming up the gnomes.
Yep. All right. This is okay. It's not super exciting. I do see gravity guns on the leaderboards, the higher rarity ones up at Apex for sure. For me, with 4 rolls remaining, I'm still rolling here.
Sure.
So let's
So
good. Yep.
But there is a really advanced advice here. Is that play the tempo of your EMP. What that means is that your EMP, it will shoot at 4 seconds, and it will block the shield recharge. So that means you better shoot at 4 seconds or 4.5 seconds rather than faster. Because you shoot the EMP, the shields cannot recharge, or you should shoot just before. You see what I mean? Like, there is some very clever play to play with the tempo of your guns.
Yeah, that is definitely some good insight, because this weapon is going to shoot at 2 seconds, and since our EMP's effect won't be active yet, our opponent's going to get 2 seconds worth of shield recharge before we initially disable it, which means that we're almost wasting a bit of that damage.
Exactly. But that's really advanced play. That's when you start to play with the reload value of your gun, that's a proper Apex Apex leaderboard.
Yeah, that is 100% the really min-maxing, but it's worth keeping in mind. So I think we're gonna re-roll here from my perspective. You agree with that, John?
Absolutely, yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, this is an interesting one. What do you think? I mean, so this is another this is sort of a counterplay utility. We're not going to take this.
No, we are set for the defense style.
What do you think about this probe here, Jean? This is a bit of a tricky mod, in my opinion.
Yeah. So it's the only way actually to win with EMP plus the probe. The probe is basically downloading a virus to your opponent. The virus is damaging all his stats like evasion, critical, shield regen, and they take more damage. So both EMP and the virus probes are good guns to pair with another gun, which is doing the damage. If you just play EMP plus virus, of course your opponent will be super crippled, but your only way to win is to wait the end of the match, the 60-second timer. So it's definitely a build that can work, but it's a very unconventional win.
Yeah, so I think we're re-rolling here, just looking for something that does more direct damage, right? Yeah. I mean, that's interesting.
We get the upgrade.
So the problem with this one is that the double EMP just doesn't actually deal any damage by itself.
Like 3.5 DPS is...
Yeah. We will be canceling our opponent's weapons pretty often, but I think they're just going to chip away at us here. So,
yeah.
If we were doing six packs, we would definitely take this and search for another weapon in a sixth pack.
But it's our last pack.
This is our last pack. We are not doing six today. As much as I see someone in the chat calling, we're going to do a sixer today. We're going for 5.
No. Oh, exactly. Okay, so let's roll some damage. Maybe we should have changed from electric because there's too much debuffing effects in electric.
All right, and nothing here, so we're gonna hit this last reroll and look for something good. We get nothing at all here.
Shit.
Nothing at all.
That's happened. Yeah. So that was an error to stick on electric actually, because indeed, statistically, there is EMP virus. I was really hoping for a hacking gun, would have been perfect for this build, but yeah, sometimes you don't get what you want.
Try for an upgrade on this nuke. We don't even hit that to see if we can grab something else.
No. No.
I'm gonna try for the upgrade on this one. Okay, we don't get any upgrades. Just seeing if I can maybe grab something out of this pack. We could have recycled this pack for 20 nectar. I don't need the nectar personally. So if you're really trying to save your nectar, that's what you could have done. We're gonna, I think, just take the supersonic radar here as just like a backup utility if we one day change the direction of this build.
No, Adam, not bad luck at all. I think the defensive base of this BattleFly is super strong. You really have, I think even currently you have a few setup like that with a shield plus graviton capacitor, if I recall well, or like daily I see them. So the defensive side is very good, the EMP is good, so it's only missing a bit more punchy gun. I think, anyway, setup like that is, as Gyro mentioned, is already good enough to climb the lower leagues.
Oh, definitely. This is definitely one of, I think, the overall weaker builds that we've ended up making, but I think it's also a little more representative of what a earlier build is going to look like, right? It's not like super synergistic. You kind of have a big shield that you're sort of building around, and you have some really clear things that you can upgrade, right? Like when you get a pack from your missions and achievements or your daily logins, and you get a mod pack in one of those loot caches, you know exactly what you're going to upgrade, right? You're looking for something that does more damage here. That being said,
and
good, John.
Maybe as well, because your utility is not doing damage as well, you might want instead of EMP to get the hacking gun, which is also an electric gun and which is more offensive because the next attack of your enemy is inflicted to himself. So basically, enemy attack is cancelled against you, but is inflicted to himself. So it's less, of course, less defensive than the EMP blaster, but it makes more damage as well. So I think the EMP can work very well if it's paired with a gun that has a good punching power, like an electro blaster. Or otherwise, a hacking ray will work very well, or maybe even double hacking ray. I've seen some builds like that. So you have a strong defensive base with both utility, defense, shields, and EMP blaster. It's missing a punch, the puncher.
Yeah, and the hacking ray, for anyone that doesn't know, basically returns your opponent's attacks back at them percentage of the time. So it works, you know, again, pretty well with these slow builds that are just trying to grind away at your opponent. But yeah, so that was today's BattleFly. I'll stop the recording shortly. I want to thank... Go ahead, John.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, just a question to reply to Crypto BKK. Which kind of weapon to pair with that? I will definitely go with the electric electro blaster, which is currently the highest DPS gun. Why? Because you get plus 3% electric damage with your shield, which is great, and you also have weakening effect, a shield weakening effect with your EMP, which stops shield regeneration. And electro blaster is very weak against shield because it do less damage to shields. So you have this double synergy of plus damage and shield weakening, which makes the blaster a very, very good gun in this situation.
Yeah, see if I can just see one on the leaderboard pretty quick. I know that they come up pretty often.
Very common. These days, maybe a little bit. I see really.
Yeah, so I mean, this is exactly the build we're talking about here.
Exactly.
But yep, so this would be basically sort of what you want to pair with that EMP blaster. They're running a playsteel hull with it, but you know, basically they're slowing down your opponent just like we are, and we are. Then this just has really high DPS, and yes, reduced damage to shields, but that doesn't really matter because we are keeping them from recharging their shields. So they're going to have less shields over the course of the battle, which makes this gun better.
Correct. Synergies always.
Yep. So this would be what you'd be really questing after, and part of the reason that we stayed in electric is we were looking for something in this, you know, sort of line of weapons.
Yeah, and we get new electric guns coming in the last silo. One of them is also less damage to shields. This is kind of the idea between electric is that they can struggle a bit to pierce shield, but they give really cool effects on the side, so it's worth it.
Cool. So thanks everyone for joining us again for another BattleFly. A little bit longer of a build today, and we will close out by... We've been in the proving... You know what? Our Proving Grounds battles have been going great since we equipped those new mods, no surprise. So I expect to keep winning here. I'd like to thank Adam for joining us on the mic today. Adam, I hope that this was beneficial for you. Thanks for joining.
Thank you guys so much.
Awesome. I'll end the recording here, and we'll see you all in the Hyperdome.
Yeah, thank you everybody, and good luck in the Hyperdome.